Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a guide as Democratic USA. Nothing super cheesy, something you could use in multiplayer with some minor adjustments. People have been asking for a guide for this, so I'm going to do one. I am a fan of focusing on Japan first, then coming back and dealing with Germany, because if you take Japan out right at the beginning of the war, they don't ever become a threat. Anyways, I'm going to change the difficulty slightly. I'm going to bump up Japan just slightly so that they actually win in China for once. I want Japan to actually do something this game, rather than roll over and die, which is what they usually do. Alrighty, first things first, we're going to grab our entire army except for the big red one, and we are going to delete it. It is worthless, we're just going to keep this one division. We're going to swap it to the National Guard template because it's larger. We're just going to train it. We're going to get basically nothing to start with, but over time that's going to tick up very high. Production-wise, I'm fine with leaving a carrier naval bomber in production. The carrier fighter just sucks. We do not need trains. We have 291, that's more than enough, but we do need trucks. And for some reason, we don't start with trucks in production. We'll put anti-air into production because it never goes out of date. And then we'll overproduce trucks and support equipment because they never go out of date. We are not going to finish the Wichita class. We will finish the other two though. And we'll finish both carriers. They are sufficiently far through production. We will finish any destroyer that's more than like 10% done. And then this sub is basically done, so we'll finish that too. Focuses, just start with the continue the New Deal, and then we're not going to bother building civs yet. We have a huge debuff. It's going to take us 139 days to build a single civ. For Germany, it's 60. We might as well build infrastructure. And we build some infrastructure in places that have a high number of slots, but then also places with resources. There are a couple of resources we don't have much of, like tungsten and aluminum, so we're going to want to build in those states. Decent amount of aluminum here. We can expand aluminum here. Good amount of aluminum there. Io has aluminum, and then this state has both tungsten and aluminum. Also add some up in Michigan and the two states west of Michigan. Research. We don't start with improved torpedoes. I'm actually just going to stop off and get that. And then the 3 basic industry techs. Oh, I forgot. Before you start continue the New Deal, do a medium lobbying effort. Then do continue the New Deal. Medium lobbying efforts are more cost effective than small lobbying efforts. Other than that, let's just group the Navy. I like putting them all in battleships, battle force, and then we'll get to training the entirety of it. Start getting that sweet naval experience. So with our first 150 political power, we are going to get the silent workhorse so that we actually start getting a good amount per day. And then we're going to continue on to WPA and the Agricultural Adjustment Act. Before you select this focus though, do a second medium lobbying effort. I lost a bunch of house support to a random event. We're also going to use our Navy experience to select integrated designers, just temporarily. The US has so much naval experience, we can basically swap between these whenever we need to. Okay, with the second focus done, we're going to continue on to Agricultural Adjustment Act. We are not going to appoint Henry here because we can get Harry White for free in a couple of focuses. In this case, we have some options. I'm going to appoint Dwight D. Eisenhower just to get that daily army experience gain. We could have also gone for one of the research guys, but I want my army experience. I'm also going to select the Coastal Defense Fleet Designer using flexible contracts, and then honestly we can just go on to naval reform. Like I said, you can switch between these whenever you want. You have infinite naval experience as the US, and with these spare research slots we're going to continue on to dispersed. Okay, we just finished Agricultural Adjustment Act. We're now going to go down and get reach out to the WARE group. All of these advisors you see are free, which is great. Otherwise, I've continued our industrial research. I've stopped off for active sonar. I'm going to put sonar on our destroyers because none of our destroyers really have sonar, and we might deal with some subs. You don't need to. We can pay farm subsidies at this point, or we can do medium lobbying effort. And if I'm going to be honest, clicking pay farm subsidies only cost us 1 civ, which is very worth it. Okay, so we're finally finishing up these starting destroyers. I'm going to produce convoys until we have sonar. Sonar is now done. We'll go into construction 2 and we'll finally design our destroyer. With the coastal defense designer, we're gonna add some torpedoes, some sonar, and a light battery. Cheap little ship. It does some things, still decently hard to hit, and we're gonna produce 2 lines of these. I'm gonna make about 100 of these. That'll give us about 200 destroyers. You might want to build more if you're in multiplayer. And we're just in time to go on to reach out to the WARE group. Also, sometime in the middle of September, you're finally going to start getting that 1 division exploit amount of army experience. At this point, it makes sense to start increasing the size of this division. Every time you add 1 battalion to this division, when we let it update, we're going to get an extra 0.09 army experience, which a little bit of math will tell us will pay itself off in 550 days. we are going to be training this army for far longer than 550 days, so we should be doing this. If you're going to be doing this for less than 550 days, then you shouldn't do it at all. We're going to add as many battalions to this as possible. Don't forget to make sure you have a secondary template so you don't have to waste army experience coming back down. And disperse too. Alright, if you're playing historical, then you want to select the Democrats 4 more years. This will also help you build infrastructure a little bit faster. It is, however, going to completely ruin your support in the House. You're going to immediately want to do a medium lobbying effort. We can also afford to upgrade the infrastructure here. Another 45 tungsten will be good. And then after this, we'll just start building civs in everywhere that's 100%. With mechanical computing finished, I am going to go on to researching the 1940 cruiser hull. And because of this, I'm going to swap back to integrated designers, because right now we're at 616 days. We swapped to integrated designers, and that's going to take us down to 555. So that's quite the savings. It's nearly 70 days. I'm also going to get the improved medium battery when this is finished. Okay, so we just got a pop-up to build a munitions plant in Utah. Because of the re-election, we're going to want to do this. We're going to just want to put this right to the top. For the first couple of years, you should always do these events. We also have the political power to appoint high command. Don't do it. We need the command power. As it is, it's arguable if we should have appointed Eisenhower or not, because we're not going to have the command power when the Sino-Japanese War starts to actually send an attaché. And that war support is going to be quite vital for us. I think the best thing we can do with our political power at this moment is to improve worker conditions. We could also give refugee to German scientists. I mean, we can kind of do all of them. I think we'll start with improved working conditions though. Okay, research the wear group is done. We're going to go get the research slot. For this game, I'm actually going to swap to fleet and being. I'm going to go down the middle part first. The escort efficiency will be nice against German subs if they decide to do anything with them. And we are now going to appoint the financial expert for the minus 5% consumer goods, and we're going to do the editor for the time being. Research slot is done. We are about 30 days, I believe, from being able to select that, so we could just wait and do it immediately, but I don't know if I'm going to have the support from the house anyways, so we're going to stop off and do War Department, because I've gotten quite unlucky with this. I have been doing medium lobbying efforts this entire time. I've paid farm subsidies multiple times, and I'm about to finish the military factory in Utah, and I'm still only at 186, which is pretty low. With this one factory, I'm going to put it on carrier naval bombers, and with the research slot, let's get the fighter one. You don't really have to rush fighters too hard as the US in single player or multiplayer, because you're going to be in the war so late, and you're going to be able to license fighter twos anyways, so you don't really have to rush them too hard. So we finished the Department of War. We can now do the Fair Labor Standards Act. We did get lucky. We got an event that gave us house support. Otherwise, I don't think we would have been able to do this on time. Or we would have had to click the button for special measures, which we should try to avoid as much as possible. Otherwise, I've gotten our division up to 50 width now. So we are about to start gaining 2.3 a day. Oh look, Japan's doing the Marco Polo Bridge incident. And we're still way short on command power. We'd have enough if we hadn't appointed Mr. Dwight. Okay, we keep getting the senator events. Like, we got too much senator support. I'm gonna pay farm subsidies again because it'll cost us, I think, 2 civs at most. Oh, that actually cost us 4. Okay, we're at the point though where we can give refuge to German scientists. Japan just declared war on China. Now is not a bad time to stop off and do Neutrality Act, and then go down to Arsenal of Democracy. And we're gonna need to do more medium lobbying efforts because the Senate loves us. House hates us. So a bunch of things are happening all at the same time. Italy is claiming Yugoslavia. Arsenal Democracy finished. We got our improved medium batteries. We've got 350 political power. I'm going to get the fighter designer. And we're just at the point where we can send an attaché to China, but we need to improve relations with them first. Okay, 20 opinion with the Chinese. We can now send them an attaché. We can also stop improving relations with them now. And of course, Japan immediately protests. Someone always immediately protests. It's just a thing. Now, we can send them guns. This doesn't actually give us anything, so we're not going to do it. Also, don't forget to get relief of command at some point. The extra army experience gain is really nice. We're getting 0.42 a day, plus our attaché. Focus-wise, we could be greedy research-wise and take the scientist haven, or we can come get 10 extra dockyards. I'm going to go with the dockyards. Everything we need to do Navy-wise is now complete. Let's go get computing machine. I've also continued on to 1939 construction tech and dispersed 3 for the extra slots so that we can keep building those 100% states. After the fighter ones, I'm going on to TAC bombers. We're going to use tactical bombers because of their range. They actually have the range to fight in the Pacific. With our free factories, I'm going to put a little bit more on artillery, a little bit more on guns, and a little bit more on anti-air, and then also support equipment. With our dockyards, I'm going to use them to start refitting our cruisers. So we start with a couple of different designs of light cruisers. They're all the Omaha class or early hulls. We're not going to bother with those. And then for heavy cruisers, I'm going to take all of the 1936 cruiser hulls. We could refit the Pensacola if we wanted to, but I'm not going to bother. We have the New Orleans class, which I'm just going to put heavy cruiser batteries on. Too expensive, huh? None of them have abandoned the treaty yet. We can't do this yet. I mean, we can still save the design, but we can't actually build this yet without taking off the armor, which just isn't feasible. So we'll save the design, and then same idea with Portland. We'll make the same upgrade. They have different starting batteries. We're not going to bother refitting the existing batteries. We'll just add the 3 new ones on, and we'll save that design, and I guess we're not going to refit them right now then. In which case, we're going to put all of these onto convoys. Once somebody actually decides to invoke the escalator clause, then we'll do it. So we finished the Two Ocean Navy Act. Anschluss just happened. So we're really close. We're 27%. Very close to that magical 30 number that allows us to do the giant wakes. We are approximately 30 days from being able to do the next one here. So you can either stop off and do the Scientist Haven, or you can just wait. I'm going to get Scientist Haven. I don't think waiting is that big of a deal. Because nobody's invoked the escalator clause, I'm just going to produce more and more convoys. 576 is not very many for the US. I've also given refuge to Italian scientists at this point. Okay, Scientist Haven is done. This means we can finally do Federal Housing Act. This will get rid of the Great Depression. With the extra research slot, we're going to start working on our artillery research. We need to start getting those guns. Also almost done the cruiser hull. And we're just producing civs at this point. Theoretically, if you wanted to go for a super late game build as the US, you could build civs until you run out of slots and then start converting for free. But we're not going to do that. All the naval research we need to do for the time being, let's start working on fighter 2s. We'll have the mid 39, which is early enough. Let's get rid of the torpedo hit chance. We're going to go to night fighting. Night fighting is the best unless you think you have positioning problems. And we're just waiting on another 100 political power because I want Henry Arnold. Because the rest of our guys are kind of useless. With our cruiser being done, we can now make our design. We're just going to use the secondary batteries, and we'll leave anti-air off. So, light cruiser battery 3s, we need to get 30 light attack. Anything more than that isn't really useful because we can't get higher than 60. So 30 will 2-shot destroyers. Now this is only 22, but with our Admiral, with the fire control we're eventually going to put on it, with the regular status, that'll end up equaling about 30. And we're going to make the rest heavy cruiser batteries. I mean, the other option is you just leave them blank, but this will work just fine though. Oh, it doesn't, it's going to force us to put the fire control on, which means we're going to actually put on sonar because it's cheaper. And we will queue up 3 of these. So once this convoy is finished, they'll just filter into the rest of them. Okay, computing machine is done. I'm going to start working towards our radar tech, just so we can put radar 3 on them. We can get down here, we start getting bonuses to our light attack, and it gives us the advanced tank radio. Other than that, we finally broke 30, so we can finally do the giant wakes. It's a huge boon for us, which means not long after that we'll be able to go onto partial mob, but not immediately. I do still want my air reformer. I want that air experience so that when we finally get the fighter 2s, we can actually put some upgrades on it, rather than just producing the baseline. After the giant wakes, we're going to go on to military construction, and in a couple of days, we're going to go on to partial mob. At this point, you can switch to building mills. But I'm going to finish my construction queue. I like to civ greed. Okay, with construction 3 done, we'll do advanced machine tools. And with this first 3 done, we will go on to anti-tank research. So we can start getting down towards here and get the good cannons for our tanks. Already, we can go to partial mobilization. We can start producing a couple of tactical bombers with these spare factories. Now that we're finally off undisturbed isolation, we can start doing our agency. We don't have the law available to us anymore, but the law increases your agency upgrade time by 100%. So each one takes 60 days. I don't consider it worthwhile doing until you've gotten rid of that law. Okay, military construction is complete. Let's go into the USACE projects. We'll put those all onto tactical bombers. Feel free to import from the UK whenever you want, and the UK will benefit from it. Alrighty, let's move on to the 1940 medium tank chassis. There's no real need to go to the 1943 medium tank chassis. We're not going to bother. The 1940 tank chassis is a pretty big step up, especially in terms of reliability. Ready, let's start getting the engines for the tank as well. So this is a problem you might run into if you start building heavy cruisers. Go with the top one. The Japanese and the Italians in my game have already abandoned the naval treaties, so we can just do the top one. It gives us a return to treaty size, which does cost us base stability. Other than that, it's going to do nothing. We're going to go down for selective training. I want to go get that research bonus for tanks. If you are really worried about this, you could come in here and you could delete the Pensacola class from the game. Just select all the Pensacola's and delete them. That should put you under. But we're not going to do this because nothing happens. They're not going to declare war on us. We take a stability hit, and that's it. Oh hey, we finally finished some destroyers. So we're going to keep producing even more of these guys. And this is going to actually start running us out of steel, which we'll just import from the UK. And around about now, we're just going to start queuing up mills in every single state that's 60% or higher. Oh, we're also going to get our army advisors now. So Mark Clark, we'll get the logistics guy for the reduced attrition. Yeah, we'll just go for the commando as well, even though we're not going to use it. Advanced machine tools is done. Let's go on to improve computing machines. Basic engine, let's get the basic armor protection. Okay, Rock Island's done. We got the radar, so we're going to keep going on to the next one. Italy joined Germany, which is fine. Let's go get tank experiments. We are starting to actually produce a good number of factories now. Queue up the Fighter 1, but it's actually just going to be the Fighter 2. It is also about time we swap to this guy. Just the extra production efficiency cap is nice. Okay, let's make an upgrade to our Air Cobras. I'm give him 2 range 3 engine, just because we're fighting the Pacific, so a little bit extra range will actually be quite a big benefit to us. Let's use this research slot on M2 half-tracks, and we have free dockyards again. Now we finally finished our destroyers. We'll just produce convoys for the time being then. We need the war to start before we can properly refit anything. Okay, we're about to hit the Army XP cap, and I have selected Omar Bradley for the Superior Firepower Doctrine cost reduction. We can now finally start doing our doctrine. Always go integrated support, all the way down to mechanized offense. We'll stop here for now. We are going to go left though, because we are going to do a decent amount with tanks, but we are going to need all of our army experience to actually design the templates we're going to be using. So there's an interesting idea for going left here for the tank destroyer designer, because that's an extra 25% heart attack. Very viable in multiplayer, but we're just going to go for the main battle tank just so we can get Detroit Arsenal. But we can also now start researching the 1940 medium tank chassis. Now, we could have saved that research bonus for the 1943 medium tank chassis, but I'm not going to bother with that one. Alrighty, let's put you on silent. And let's start infiltrating their army. Now that the war started, we can also start doing our naval refits. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have these guys finish, and then we're going to grab all of the New Orleans classes. We're going to upgrade them to the New Orleans class 2. We're going to take the Portland classes, upgrade them to the Portland class 2. I'm going to be honest, I don't really care to upgrade the battleships. We're just going to leave them as is. They're just meat shields anyways. And now that we're going to upgrade, we're going to want to swap to naval refit yards. So with 150 political power, we actually have 2 options. Hold on to it and wait for the world tension to go over 50% so that we can appoint an elusive gentleman, or go off free trade. And given how much I'm going to have to import, I think the option is going to be to go off free trade. We're still going to have to import our rubber, but we're not going to have to import anything else. I'm going to temporarily swap back to flexible contracts. I want to swap this to the Pacific Fleet Designer. Because we have most of the designs we already need, by swapping to this, I can go in here and I can upgrade our carriers. Small little anti-air upgrade. We'll apply the new designer, giving us an increased deck size for basically no refit cost. And we can also do that to the Lexington class, which we should not do for the Ranger class. Actually, we need to create a variant. The Ranger class uses the level 1 engine rather than the level 2. So we'll make that change for the Ranger class, and then we can convert both to Lexingtons. 5 to 600 IC gets you an extra 15 deck size, which is just so worth it. After that, let's swap back to naval refitting yards because we are still refitting. So when it comes to Mexican oil nationalization, you can do the first one or the second one. I prefer to do the second one because it doesn't cost any political power, and they're just going to resolve it anyways. And there's the tank chassis. So let's go design a tank. So for our tank design, we're going to be using 3-man turret, improved medium cannon, advanced radio, Christie suspension, and welded armor. This is just the baseline. From here, because we're going superior firepower, it makes sense to add a stabilizer. We can add an additional machine gun. And I am going to add sloped armor because it is entirely possible to use armor in single player. In multiplayer is largely pointless, but in single player, 20% armor for 1% cost, very worthwhile. And let's up these a bit. I'd like them to go about 8 kilometers an hour. This is approximately the same speed as Mech 1 is. I would like that armor value to be about 100, which means I'm going to have to pay the chromium cost. If we're going to do that, we might as well go up to 9 on that one. That's making our reliability really low. Is 88 armor going to be enough? Because if it's not, I could go up to cast. Because the other thing is we can convert these from stockpile. We can intentionally produce an out-of-date tank that costs 4.16, and then using the conversion text, convert it to a tank that is much better. And doing that, if our final cost is 18.2, we can decently outproduce it. If we swap to cast, it's going to increase this amount to 21.9, so we can still get 19.8, which is only slightly less than what we would have gotten if we didn't use cast. Or actually, we can just go for a wet ammo stowage instead of an additional machine gun, bring us up to 80. 80's good enough. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Give it an actual proper Sherman look. M4 Sherman. Now, we're not going to actually put this into production just yet. We will just put this basic one in production, because I don't actually have the conversion text yet, but I will get them. We also have half tracks now. I actually need to redesign these. I didn't have Detroit Arsenal selected yet. But anyways, those are the designs we're using. I'll just update them for Detroit Arsenal. I'm also going to make a tank destroyer variant. Simply for the piercing, we're going to use the improved heavy cannon because I don't have the improved high velocity cannon yet. We do not need radio or a stabilizer. We can drop back down to 9 here and just reduce this one. If we really wanted to, we could slap a bunch of small cannons on it and then just drop off the armor until it is the same speed as the M4 Sherman. We can also drop it down to riveted armor. And we're just going to include one of these in our tank division just to make sure that we have the piercing we need in case we come up against German tanks that actually have armor, which they might. Germany sometimes builds tanks that are worth something. I finally got the advanced fire control system, so now we can do our last round of refits. To do this, we're going to quickly swap back to flexible contracts so that we can appoint the raiding fleet designer. See, heavy cruisers count as screens for some reason in this game. It makes no sense. So when you're looking through these and you're trying to buff your heavy cruisers, you need to be looking at what does it do for screens? Well, Atlantic Fleet does nothing. Coastal Defense Designer just makes them cheaper. So we're going to swap to the Electric Boat Company when we make these refits, just because reducing surface visibility is good, increasing max speed is good, and none of the rest apply. So we're going to take the 3 heavy cruisers we've made so far, and we're just going to make a second class with the max level fire control and level 3 radar. And if you really want, you can put on AA. I mean, but 2.7 doesn't really matter. You should have air superiority over all of your battles anyways. So we're just going to save that, and we're going to do the same for the other 2 classes as well. And as we do this, we can also see the power of Coastal Defense Designer. It's going to go from 5600 up to 7600. That's why you use Coastal Defense Designer to start off with. Now, we're not actually done all of our refits, but when we finish those refits, we're going to refit them again. And the 2-stage refit is going to be way cheaper than doing it in one step if you're going to swap off using the Coastal Defense Designer. And don't forget to swap back to Naval refitting yards. We've now gotten into May 1940. It is around this time that you want to start deploying your army. We've gotten enough army experience at this point. So this is the division template I'm going to use, a 21 width. It's got decent stats. It can push if you give it air support. The anti-tank will make it so it can likely pierce any enemy division. So that's what we're going to be using. To deploy these quickly though, we are going to create a new one that is literally just 1 infantry, because we can deploy these really quickly and then convert them and then train all of the divisions in the field. We are going to want 95 of these because we already have 1 division in the field. We want 96 total. Don't bother waiting for these to train. They're going to lose every single experience anyways when we convert them. So we're just going to deploy them at 20%. Finally got my 3rd spy. Okay, well, we're going to steal some military blueprints then and see what we get. Anyways, back to deploying the army. We're going to deploy all 95 of these guys, and we're just going to put them along the entire coast. Just spread them out for supply purposes. At this point, you're also going to want to stop training your 1 division because, well, we're only getting 0.003 from it now. So we can add that to the main army. And we're going to convert all of these to that infantry division I just designed, and we're a little short on infantry equipment and anti-tank, but that is fine. We will catch up. While we're here, we might as well design our tank division. So we'll go with an 8 and 7. So I'm going to go with a mixed half mech, half motorized, just to start with, because I don't think I'll have enough mechanized to fully mech out this division just yet. I am going to use recon for the movement speed bonus. That is a lot of buffs. You do not need to upgrade recon to get better movement speed, so you just need the first level. So we're going to have 7 medium tanks, 1 medium tank destroyer, just because otherwise we'd barely be able to pierce ourselves. And it does provide better stats. Eventually, this will be a fully mech division though. And this is an expensive division to design. It's also why I don't like 40 widths, because if we made this 40 width, you'd add an extra 50 army experience just to create it. So we'll make those. We want to make sure when we do this, they are not using the ones we want to convert from stockpile, only the main tank. And this is also why I had 200 army experience saved up, and I hadn't gone for these doctrines yet, because I knew making that division would be very expensive. We're also going to take smoke and fire. 5% breakthrough is 5% breakthrough. And breakthrough is not something we have an overabundance of because we went superior firepower. On top of that, we're going air-land battle because it buffs tanks, and I am kind of using tanks in this build. If you're using infantry, go right. With the army fully deployed and the manpower actually in their divisions, we can now start sending them overseas. I prefer to send them overseas, then train them, just to make sure they're in position. We'll put 2 armies in the northern Philippines. They will try to land here. 1 army just guarding all the islands, just to make sure we don't lose them. And then 1 last army, which will be used for our naval invasions. So we can just put like half down here, and the other half we'll just put in Pearl Harbor for now. Outside of that, you are going to want to upgrade the airports here, as well as build a couple of air bases over here in Guam and Wake Island. And if you feel like it, you can also put some in Midway. We don't need to build those just yet, but we are going to need to build them eventually. It is also wise to build a level 3 or 4 port on the eastern side of the Philippines and connect it by railway to the rest of the port so that you don't have to protect trade going through the zone. You can just focus out here where you're going to have better air superiority. We should start building it before the end of the year. Unfortunately, they don't have radar tech, but we do, so we can also upgrade the radar on our islands. Just have a little bit easier time fighting the Japanese Air Force and finding their navy. That's the build-up phase done. Don't forget to actually deploy your Air Force and start training it, because I will be back in about a year when Japan actually decides to declare war on us, which should be about May or June 41. Okay, Japan just declared war on the Philippines. Got caught a little off guard here because I didn't get a notification about that. There was no thing across here telling me that me or my subjects was getting justified on, so that was a little weird. We are, however, in position. It's just our navy is wildly out of position. We'll have to send that over. This naval base here, navy-wise, I'm going to use Arleigh Burke because he doesn't have an officer role. So we can make him a naval maneuver specialist, which is really good. Naval speed is the best thing you can get. We'll also give him concealment expert and destroyer leader. This makes it next to impossible for your destroyers to get hit. Outside of that, I have set up naval invasions all across the Pacific. We're going to do a little bit of island hopping. You don't actually need to do this. If you just cap Japan, you get all of these islands anyways. Oh, our Air Force is also completely out of position. I said May. I should have been prepared for May, but I wasn't. I'm using groups of 200 here just to be lazy. But we'll move everyone over, then we'll reorganize it once it gets there. For generals, we're going to use Eisenhower because he has Logistics Wizard. And then we're going to use Walter Kruger, Omar Bradley, William Simpson for the island defense. And then Mark Clark is going to get to do all of the invasions. Doctrine-wise, we have managed to complete 9 of our land doctrines, which is really good. This is the power of the 1 division training exploit. Naval doctrine's done, but that's expected as the US. Air doctrine, we haven't done much of. I'm going to go for battlefield support. We should have no problem getting air superiority, so let's buff our close air support mission. So we're just going to cancel that so that we can go to war economy. Japan is too weak for me to go to war economy. That's an interesting one. One thing you can do if Japan is still fighting in China when they declare war on you is you can navally invade all of their ports in China and then they just have no supply. We're not going to do that. We'll just go straight for Japan. But it is one thing you can do, especially if you find you can't land in Japan. We're going to land in 2 separate places. One in Nagasaki, which is where Operation Downfall did call for a naval invasion, and the other one we're going to land around Osaka, and we'll do that once our navy actually shows up. We'll also set up our submarines all over the place. No, do not engage, do not engage. Hold on. Where are you? No. Do not engage. You have no org, you will lose that battle. Oh, interesting, that launched. Someone has no supply. Why do you have no supply? There's just too many divisions on that one tile. Okay, let's just make sure this does not actually engage. You need to go, actually just go to Hawaii. Okay, the Air Force is here. We're going to put 600 over the Mariana, 600 fighters, and then the tactical bombers have not shown up yet. We'll put 400 tactical bombers over there as well. Let's select 500 of you, move you down here. Let's also put 300 fighters out in the eastern Micronesian Sea. This is why I put a little bit of range on these fighters, because they do need it. These are very large sea zones. Okay, we lost 4 submarines, that's fine. Ooh, we got intercepted though. Does look like we are going to get Taiwan though. Okay, we finally got advanced equipment, so we can start doing the conversion thing. My god, I've produced a lot of medium tanks. Okay, let's scale down production quite a bit. And here's the power of tactical bombers, just sinking all of their subs. Let's put these guys on close air support. They should help land here. Even though we have no strength, the tactical bombers might actually allow us to land. Okay, how is our main fleet doing? They are doing fine. They've gotten most of their org. They've got enough org to fight effectively, so they can go out and start doing stuff. They'll likely try to take out this task force if we can catch it in another battle. But we did manage to get Taiwan, so let's take the rest of it. And we got Naval Invader, which is nice. We have Okinawa, so let's take all of that. Swap these guys to close air support as well. Let's put this fleet on convoy escort, actually. Okay, nice. We did get this island. Lost a lot of strength, but we did get it, so we can continue to island hop from there. Okay, so we did manage to get Iwo Jima, which is nice. And it looks like we're going to bomb out their navy rather than destroy it with our actual fleet. See if you can actually get to it, an engagement. Ooh, we actually managed to get there. This is going to go really badly for the Japanese. Yep, that's at least a third of their flight is gone at this point in time. Sure, we'll take Amelia Earhart. Amelia, come lead a fighter squadron. This is actually a really strong thing you can do because it's a massive bonus. You know what? I know I spent all of this time drawing all of these, and I'm just going to ignore it. Let's also build up the air base and the port on Iwo Jima. Let's also split this fleet in half. The Japanese fleet is not really that big of a threat right now, so we're going to split in half and we're going to put it on convoy escort, just to make sure nothing gets sunk. We can already get the last land doctrine. That's nice. Ooh, a nice secondary engagement here. Took another 3 battleships. I did swap them to convoy raiding instead, just try and hunt down a couple more. Okay, let's take a look at the Japanese Navy. They've got a lot of carriers, surprisingly. But they don't have much else, so I'm actually comfortable splitting this Navy in half again. And now we're just waiting for these guys to be in position. They look like they're nearly ready. We're just waiting on org at this point. Germany declares war on the Soviets. If you have spare equipment, it isn't a horrible idea to send it to the Soviets. Like I've apparently overproduced support equipment, so let's send them a little bit of that. And then they can have a couple of our outdated guns. Not that the M1 Grand was actually outdated during the war, but it is in this game. And I would send them some convoys, but we can't afford that. Airbase in Iwo Jima is up to a level 4. That is good enough for us. We can also pull in 600 fighters to the East China Sea. This will get us some air cover over the Japanese home islands, and we can get a little bit more air doctrine. So you have 2 options here. Air superiority mission efficiency, which is actually just 15% agility, or 25% ace generation. If you're going for a full cast build and you're not using fighters, go right. We are using fighters, so we'll go left. And I think we are ready to launch this naval invasion. So let's swap back to convoy escort and set ourselves up in these 2 sea zones. Let's see how this goes. Okay, they are defending this port, but they aren't defending Nagasaki. And we are going to be able to land next to them. So we'll immediately push 1 across here because there's another port there. And then we'll attack into Osaka. We'll actually push 1 guy this way too, just to make sure they don't immediately attack into us. They might still anyways, but we did manage to land down here in Nagasaki. So we're going to pull in Walter Kruger. We'll put his entire army here in the south, and once we take Osaka, we'll put the entirety of Omar Bradley in Osaka. And let's just start pushing out a little bit. Can we take Osaka? Oh yes, we did. Nice. Okay, you guys keep pushing this way. You guys come around there. You guys can push onto this island here. I think I should have buffed Japan a little bit more than I ended up buffing them. Probably should just give them max buffs, actually. Sure, we'll join the Allies. Why not? There are a couple of achievements you can get as the US. Most of them require you to sit back and just pump out units. Assume leadership of the allies. That just requires you to pump out as much manpower in the field as possible. Because to do that, we would currently need 2.64 million manpower. We only have 1.43. We could get that though. Let's just pump out 100 of these divisions and then convert them to our largest division. The dropping a nuke on Paris achievement requires you to play bad, because there's no reason you should ever get nukes early enough for that to actually matter. And we'll start convoy raiding around here just to make sure they don't pull back any of their troops. At this point, unless you want to meme and use floating harbors, which you don't need, but you can do it, you should probably just put everything on convoys. So I have these 10 National Guard divisions. They are our super large division that I'm going to deploy right now. They're going to be green. I'm going to send them over to the UK just in case they get convoy raided, and then I'll convert them to the tank division. We should also start sending William Simpson. Japan's basically capitulated at this point. It's just a matter of marching a little bit further. Oh, never mind. They are capitulated at this point. Already one advertisement for the player-led peace conferences mod later. We have a democratic Japan, Korea, not split, and Chuko, who lost part of it. Okay, we actually finally have the political power to go to war economy or total mob. I'm going to be honest. I don't actually care to go to total mob. Let's just go to war economy. Time to bring the entire army back for D-Day. The army is almost in England, so it's about time we start setting up our spy network. We're going to want our spies around Western Germany so that we can get rid of their entrenchment on their D-Day wall. On top of that, it is about time we steal leadership of the Allies. So we're going to take these divisions, we're just going to spread them out. We're going to spread them out all along the East Coast here, and we'll just put them on every port in the United States because ports are guaranteed to have the supply we need to make sure that they don't take attrition. And we're going to convert them to the National Guard Division. Now that's going to take 2 million manpower. We don't have that. But we actually do. I'm doing the Women's Armed Service Integration Act, which gives us an extra 2%. We're also going to put them in a lower theater so that they have lower priority. What I'm also going to do is set up some convoy escorts around here. However, our destroyers have very short range, so we're going to add in our early cruiser hulls, the light cruisers. We're going to add these guys in, and that'll give us just enough range to reach the North Atlantic Ridge, which is all we need. You just need to be able to reach one tile in each sea zone, which we can, other than Denmark Strait. So we can convoy escort the entire Atlantic, even though these ships only officially have 900 range. And we're going to divide these up into 8. We're going to leave them under Arleigh Burke here because he has Fleet Protector. So he's going to be better at screening. He also has positioning, which makes the penalty from having convoys in the battle less. Convoys count as capital ships for the purpose of calculating screening efficiency, so having superior tactician on your convoy escort fleet is very strong. Okay, so the army has finally showed up in England. We are going to have 12 tanks for D-Day. We do have enough. I am going to change to a full mechanized template here. It's going to increase our HP a bit. Gives a little bit better stats. And I should be able to take over faction leader. So we have 498 factories, they have 521, but I am importing a bunch from them. So we're just going to cancel those imports temporarily, and now we actually have enough to take over faction leadership. And theoretically, we could kick them from the faction, but we're not going to do that. Now let's set back up our trade. As for D-Day, we are going to have complete aerial supremacy. We have an extra 3,200 fighters if we need it. We are researching the 1944 fighter currently, and the 1944 tactical bomber, and 1944 half-track. I stole a bonus for this, and we get 100% bonuses for this from Focus Tree and this from the Tizard mission. We are going to take our fleet, our main one, we're going to put that on naval invasion support and do a multi-prong invasion. None of it's actually going to matter. It's also the reason I haven't bothered researching the M2 carbon. I am out of slots in mainland United States, and this is common. This is a common problem the United States have. I have nothing to do with my factories, to the point where I've built up level 3 radars. And I was going to build one on Malta, but I realized the UK lost Malta. Anyways, let's set these guys up. 433 at Cherbourg. Those two aren't going to be trained, but that's fine. Obviously going to give them patent. We're going to go for combined arms expert. When you come in here, we're at 5346. We're under that 60-40 split. So we're going to go for combined arms expert. It's going to give us a higher bonus. I am finally doing our cryptology. You want to do this as late as possible because it gives the enemy the least amount of time to actually decrypt it. Already the stragglers have finally gotten here. We will now start our invasion. We're going to land quite easily here at Cherbourg. We're likely going to take Brest and Nantes. So we will flood in all of our divisions. Start with William Simpson, because why not? Okay, we took Brest. We're getting attacked in, which is a little dangerous, but it looks like we should be fine, especially because the AI has not put up any planes. Okay, let's bring in the tanks as well. We're going to make a drive for Berlin as fast as possible. And actually, I think we can afford to bring over most people at this point in time. Oh, they have a lot on Bordeaux. Might as well just grab these guys and tell them to go to Brest then. Let's attack inwards. It is also in our best interest to start upgrading these railroads as best as we can. Now that we've secured Brest, we can delete all of these front lines, create one generic field marshal front line, and then unassign the tanks that we actually have control over them. We're going to split the tanks in half. We're going to send half south, half in the north. We still have complete air supremacy. The AI has decided against contesting the air for some reason. We'll move a couple of them up preemptively, and let's break this river line, go take Bordeaux. And with our 60 armor, they cannot pierce us. By the looks of it, they only have AA. They do not have AT. In fact, their tank here, their tank just got annihilated. Let's go take Tours. We have successfully taken Tours, so now once we take Bordeaux, all of these units here will be encircled and dead. Taking coastal ports are actually really important because they instantly activate. Because they can be supplied by sea, they don't have to actually wait for anything. I feel like I should mention this. One of the achievements you can get as the US is having 50 expeditionary forces. So all you have to do for that is create a front line, let's say right here. Say we want to push to Berlin, and then just request from anybody. And we can pull in 79 divisions, 79 extra divisions, which we can now do whatever we want with. You don't have to use them on this order if you don't want to. More importantly, I'm going to put them in the UK, because this is 79 divisions the AI can no longer send in and ruin my supply. Medium tanks. I could probably convert 3 of you guys to tanks. Yeah. So now we have 15, which isn't bad by February 42, especially for how infantry heavy I've gone with this army. Okay, there's the liberation of Paris, which should hold as long as the infantry actually does something. Make sure all of these infantry don't stay up there. Ooh, this is a good use of these divisions. We'll take the UK divisions, we'll put them on the Italian border. Okay, 2 armies for Dwight to deal with the Italians. Send 6 tanks down to Nice. They'll handle the Italians. That leaves us 9 tanks for the Germans, which is more than enough. Soviets are kind of getting wrecked though. Once they lose Kiev, the entire south gets blown wide open just because of how far apart supply hubs are. Alright, let's try and push down to Dijon, get a little encirclement here. We did manage to take Bordeaux, so that's going to be a nice little 15 unit pocket there, at least. Okay, encirclement in the center there. And Germany is basically wide open once these guys actually get on the front line. Okay, let's stop this order temporarily while everybody shows back up. At the same time, we can start making a push towards Genoa and then further on into Milan. And this is the power of tactical bombers. Tactical bombers actually have the range for this, flying from northern England. Okay, push into Germany is going well, push into Italy is going well. We should activate that order just so the units come along with it. don't know where all these units are coming from, so they might take a while to show up. Anyways, we've taken Milan, we've taken Genoa. We are well on our way to just being able to push straight through the Italians. In the north here, I'm going to take these tanks and I'm just going to assign them to the front line. Let the AI handle this. Encirclement of the Italians is done. We can now start pushing in. By the looks of it, we should be home for Independence Day. That is a lot of divisions. Can we just try and make a concentrated push to encircle those 17 infantry? Please just push to Antwerp. Ooh, they all retreated there. Okay, keep pushing north then. Drive around them. There is 30 divisions right there. If we have taken Brussels, which it looks like we have, we should instantly get a supply hub there, because it's their capital hub, which is really strong. Just keep it going. We'll just keep chasing them along this coast. Okay, if we can cut across... Actually, we'll just cut across up north to Leeuwen. Main fleet out on convoy raiding, just to make sure they don't get any supplies. Yeah, there's nearly 40 divisions here. Down here in the south, I did get encircled because I stopped looking, but luckily I am sitting on a port, so that is fine. I have not actually lost any divisions there. You guys push down to Rome then. You really use Amsterdam. Amsterdam is a supply hub that'll do us wonders. There we go. Now we'll be able to complete the encirclement in the north there. The Hague is not a port, so let's push back here, and that's 40 divisions gone. Okay, so we did manage to get all the way down to Rome. We are about to get cut off, but that is fine. We've got the port north of Rome. That's all that matters. A new general for China. What? You can have Joseph Stilwell, I guess. Okay, so we did manage to get this encirclement here in the north, which is great. Now let's just push in, eliminate this pocket. Ooh, you got encircled temporarily. That's interesting. Okay, that division has not yet died. We're about to unencircle it, which is good. You should be able to just keep pushing right down. We'll send you to Messina. These guys can carry on to Taranto, and you guys will deal with this pocket of infantry. Let's take these guys out. Have you guys come over here. The Bulgarians are trying. They're not going to succeed. But we've been sinking all of their remaining ships. Bulgaria seems to have a lot of divisions here. Once we get Sicily, that should be Italy gone. There goes Italy. They actually capped to the British, which kind of makes sense. I am largely using British divisions. No, we are not going to take all that territory. We're just going to push into Germany. We'll make the push from the south into Vienna. The tanks are here, so we want to come along here, because that's all the supply hubs. You guys can come up to Munich. You guys over to Salzburg, and then Wels. Somebody put this Romanian division out of its misery, please. Try and take Munich from the north then. Still need to get to Vienna, which might require us pushing from the south here. All of you guys just push to Berlin. We're going to actually build a new railway there, which should instantly activate that supply hub, rather than us having to wait for the railways. Okay, Communist China just declared war on regular China, which is kind of expected. Did it work? Okay, they finished building it, and tomorrow, are we going to be good? It says 6 days, but I think it's lying. Really? So even though I built that railway, it doesn't care. Either way, we've taken Berlin in the north. We just need to get to Danzig now. Once we get to Danzig, they're guaranteed to capitulate. How are we looking, though? 97%. Stettin might just be the answer, actually. And there we go. This is how the faction looks. The UK puppeted Romania, but then gave Northern Transylvania freedom. Makes no sense. I guess this is the modern day Kaliningrad up in Hinterpol now. I don't know, these tags are just stupid. They should never have been added to the game. No point in adding these to the game whatsoever. Alrighty, quick little game. I believe it's about 1 year after we got declared on. May 15th. 11 days. Took us 11 days longer. A year plus 11 days to capitulate both Japan and Germany. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'm going to be doing a guide for Hungary, restoring the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and getting the achievement that requires you to have Palestine. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.